You're watching Ride Like a Local with Belt Drive Betty. Welcome back to another episode of Ride Like a Local. This week we're at the Vancouver Motorcycle Show version 2019. The Cossacks and I get up close and personal, and I learn all about the game of barns. We're at the Vancouver Motorcycle Show. I'm with historian Terry Ray. He's in the Tram Deeley antique motorcycle booth, and we're discussing one of my favorite topics, the old ladies of motorcycling. So what's so special about this particular machine, Terry?
This is a bike that was built, believe it or not, during the war years, when most of the production went into the Army. They saved 116 bikes for the civilians. And this is one. It's a knucklehead. It's an EL. And what happened was, at that time, Harley-Davidson kept bikes back to sell to civilians. Indian didn't. And that was the beginning of their slide downhill.
That's interesting. I didn't realize that that's how come Indian started going downhill, is because they were giving almost all their production to the military.
Their whole total production went to the military.
So let's talk about this old girl.
Well, it's an EL, it's a knucklehead, and it is one of the more popular bikes. You talk to anybody, if they had to pick a bike to get it, they always say, oh, I want a knucklehead.
Right.
Yeah. And they're not referring to any of their friends or anything. They're looking at the bike.
Yeah.
But the fact that they served 116 people during the war years, when all the other production was going to the Army, and kept bikes back so that people could buy a bike from Harley. It switched a lot of Indian riders over to Harleys.
I can imagine that. So what's so special about this particular beast?
Well, this is 1933, and history would tell you that that's the Depression years.
Right.
And everything was quite expensive in those days, including chrome. And you'll notice there's a very, very little chrome on this bike. So what they did was they put a nice paint job on the bike. It's the first year where they came out with decaling on the gas tank. And they made the bike look a little better for the production, for the customers.
How many of these babies did they produce? Do you remember?
You're saying that like I was around in 1933. I wasn't.
I know you weren't. But you're what was that famous statement? A walking wealth of useless information?
My God, you got that right. No, I don't have an exact figure on this. But during the Depression years, not many things got sold. And Harley was on the edge of bankruptcy. And it was this bike that brought him back.
Well, it's a beautiful machine. Absolutely beautiful machine. Let's go to the last one in the line. Nothing like a drab olive green color to get a girl's heart going. So tell me a little bit about this particular baby.
Well, these are the first ones that came out with the teardrop tank for a starter. But if you'll notice, all the emblems on the head and side was just printing.
Right.
And the one we just looked at, that's for the first year of the decaling on the tanks.
Right.
This is the JD. It's what they would have called a side valve. Everybody looks at this and they think there's only one valve, but there's actually two.
Okay.
One comes up through the center of the engine, and that's your side valve.
So, who would have bought this machine back in the day? Because what year is this one?
1933.
This is also a 30.
No, this one here is a 26.
1926.
Yep.
So, who would have bought a bike like this, and how much would a bike like this have gone for roughly in the 20s, do you think?
If you could move this bike show back to 1926, almost everybody that's here shopping for new bikes would have come to look at something like this. The JD was very popular. And again, I have no idea of the total production. Without my office at Deeley's, all my reference books are there.
Yeah.
But again, they sold a fair amount of these. But again, it would have been an average bike for a family would have bought one bike, and this would have been something they would have bought.
So there you go, folks. The Vancouver Motorcycle Show always has lots of interesting characters to talk to, things to see. And if you find yourself in the Vancouver area, stop in at Tram Deeley Motorcycles. Go and take a look at their vintage motorcycle display. It's absolutely fabulous. And if you're lucky, you might even catch Mr. Ray there.
That's what Trev said. If he was lucky, he might catch me working.
There you go. And that's my time with Terry Ray at the Vancouver Motorcycle Show. Thank you, dear.
Lacombe, Alberta, runner-up community in Canada's most rider-friendly community contest. Situated just off Highway 2, the city of Lacombe provides access to hundreds of kilometers of secondary highway riding, making it a natural stop when touring through central Alberta. From June to August, Wednesdays are filled with music, food, and fun at the Lacombe Memorial Centre for Music in the Park. Lacombe, Alberta, in the heart of it all. RiderFriendly.com combines a social business directory with content marketing. Create coupons, special offers, and events, and let us promote them for you. RiderFriendly.com, helping riders find rider-friendly businesses.
I'm being joined right now by Scott Webb. He's with Ducati Canada. He's one of their business managers. And right now we're going to talk a little bit about the absolutely gorgeous, my heart's biggest dream, the Ducati Monster. Let's talk a little bit about the Monster and what it is all about.
Absolutely. Well, the interesting thing about the Monster is this is our 25th year introducing the Monster in Canada and North America 25 years ago. And we've just built on that platform over the last 25 years to the iteration that you see here today.
And what's special about this iteration? It's the 821 Monster. Let's talk a little bit about its features and benefits.
Absolutely. Well, the 821 Monster is the middle Monster in the family. We have a 797 and a 1200 as well, but it's the first of the liquid-cooled Monsters in the lineup this year. So 821cc, liquid-cooled, 6-speed transmission, 112 horsepower, so it has more than ample horsepower for anything that you would possibly need it to do, including some track work if you wanted to. But it's not just about that. It's about the heritage of the bike. We were the first people to come out with a naked bike 25 years ago, and a lot of people have copied us since. But we've just built on that platform to the point where we've come up with something that's not only performance-oriented, but safety-oriented as well.
Safety-oriented how?
Well, there's multiple levels of traction control on this bike. Okay. There's 4 different ride modes and 4 different levels of ABS. So depending on the type of riding you're doing, you can dial this bike in as you see fit and what works best for you. So you can dial it down in horsepower a little bit. So if you're in a rain situation, you can decrease the horsepower, you can up the ABS and up the traction control to make it a very safe motorcycle in those somewhat challenging conditions.
Well, that's rather interesting. Now, what would something like this run for?
These bikes in Canada run for about $15,000.
That's really not that bad for that Ducati name.
No, you know what? It's not. I think there's a lot of misconception out there right now that Ducatis start at $25,000 and go up, and that's absolutely not the case. As a matter of fact, the smaller version of the Monster, the 797, is $10,000.
So there you go, folks. You too could have a Ducati for an affordable price. Let's talk quickly. There's another bike just on the other side I would like to talk about.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back in a second, folks. So now we're in front of an absolutely gorgeous bike. It's the Enduro, the Hypomotard. Let's talk a little bit about this baby.
Absolutely. This is actually the second iteration of the Enduro that we brought out since 2016. And we made substantial upgrades to the bike this year. Obviously, this is a marketplace that within the motorcycle industry that is still growing, which is the adventure rider. So if you look at the segmentation within the marketplace, there are a lot of people who are looking to maybe transition away from a smaller bike or even a non-traditional touring motorcycle to get into some kind of adventure riding.
Adventure riding is so popular, the off-road, on-road. I know that I myself have gotten the bug just a little bit, and that's why I wanted to talk about this bike. Now, it's a 1260. What features on this bike could a rider expect?
Well, this is really a feature-laden motorcycle, reason being that it can be obviously a multi-purpose motorcycle. So We have upped the electronics package on this substantially over last year, increased the engine size, and have also come up with a lower version. So one of the biggest complaints with this bike over the last couple of years was it was just intimidating. It was a very tall motorcycle, taller even, let's say, than our competition. So this year what we did was when we went to the new 1260 motor platform, we actually lowered the center of gravity on the bike and then decreased the ride height as well at the same time.
And again, you have all kinds of different controls a person can take advantage of, correct?
Absolutely. Again, 4 different ride modes, traction control, wheelie control on this bike as well, and it has electronic hill hold. So if you're in a situation where you're on a hill, you can actually put it into a hill hold mode where you don't have to worry about the clutch and just ride away with the throttle.
So they've really taken skill to a different level.
They really have, and when you're dealing with a bike that is this substantial, be it ours or any of our competition, you want to have as many rider aids as you possibly can to make it as user-friendly in every different situation you might find yourself in.
User-friendly. That's not something you would normally attribute to a dual sport bike.
No, it's not, and that's why I think you've seen a proliferation of smaller displacement bikes. But anybody looking at a new GSA 1250 or a 1290 KTM, this is the bike that they compare it with. And all those bikes are bikes that are historically or traditionally used by someone who has a lot of riding experience, who wants to make that next leap into high performance off-road or adventure riding.
Now, what other kind of accessories do you have for this particular bike? I mean, I'm looking at these panniers. Those are huge.
Absolutely. These are TourTech panniers, and this comes standard on this motorcycle. But the motorcycle also comes with heated grips, cruise control. You can get a larger windshield for it. You can actually get a comfort seat if you wanted something that's a little taller and a little more comfortable for those long rides. There is a back box available as well. So there's a lot of options that you can customize this bike to the way that you see fit.
Well, there you go, folks. Ducati motorcycles for 2019. Some pretty nice offerings. Perfect.
Hafford, Saskatchewan, Canada's most rider-friendly community from the 2018 riding season. Located between North Battleford and Prince Albert and not far from Saskatoon, it's the perfect day ride destination. With welcoming folks and great small businesses, Hafford has everything you could need while out for a motorcycle ride. Hafford, Saskatchewan, Canada's most rider-friendly community, 2018. Where commerce and community meet. The staff at Community Futures, Grand Prairie and Region love helping entrepreneurs, young and old, succeed in their goals. What can we do to help you reach yours? That's our time this week, folks. Join me next week for the Edgerton Fire and Wheels Rally. Rain, sleet, and snow, yes, not even snow could keep riders away from helping their firefighters.